Today I have the opportunity to interview a couple who has seen some terrible tragedy over the last 2 years. And through this tragedy, they've learned to not run away from God, but rather trust Him far more. So they share with me exactly what this tragedy was, what it's been like navigating it with a young child, and also how they met. Very unconventional at the time, but popularized today. And so we also get into a lot more exciting stuff. We get into some of the terminology of Zach's condition and what it exactly is, what it's affecting, and how that all works on even the cellular level. So this was a fascinating conversation, impactful conversation. I'm also going to include some clips throughout this episode of some of the milestones Zach hit in his recovery journey. So that being said, without further ado, it was my absolute honor to sit down with and interview Mr. Zack and Samantha Ward. So I guess kind of where I would like to start is just a little bit of y'all's story. How did y'all meet each other, and what's the story there?
It may have been before your time. It was definitely before your time.
What year were you born?
2005.
Okay.
Have you heard of MySpace?
Yes, I have.
I messaged her on MySpace.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, that long ago. 18 years.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about MySpace, because I'm not super
You can
well
create
versed
your own page. You can do your own music on it. You can do a lot of cool stuff on it. It was right before Facebook jumped off.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Twitter and Instagram and all that. She lived in Carrollton. I lived in Noonan. And I ended up asking her out for coffee. And she went for it.
I did. Well, it was, I think, probably just how we went about it more so. It was very genuine. You could just tell it was really genuine. And he offered his phone number. And I was like, well, I'm not going to call a gentleman. If you'd like to talk to me, here's my number. And so he called and we met, and it was a few weeks later. I always remember the date being close to, because you were leaving to go to your brother's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him my number and he didn't call. And it took a while. And I was like, well, okay. And then he did call. And he's like, yeah, I've been in Tennessee with my brother. My brother was getting married, and we went out on our first date a couple weeks later.
Wow. So was that kind of your way of kind of tricking her to get her number?
Yes. yes.
Very smooth.
Oh, wow. Good strategy. So early days of, I guess you could say, internet dating, maybe not so?
Yeah, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Sort of?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was trying to go a different route than meeting a girl through a buddy or something like that, you know. None of them really worked out.
Hey, that can be super awkward too sometimes.
Yes.
So how old were y'all when y'all met each other?
I was 21, 22.
Yeah, 22, and I had just turned 19.
Wow.
Yeah. So fixing to be 40 and 37.
So how long did y'all date before y'all got married?
Well, ours was a little unconventional in a biblical sense, right?
Okay.
We didn't know the Lord at the time, and I say we didn't know the Lord. We knew the Lord, but didn't have a relationship with the Lord. So we moved pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Within 3 months.
Yeah, within 3 months we were living together and living in our life that we were living in, and we were happy from what we knew. Thought we were happy, and we just did life. I was in college and he worked, and we just did life together. And then we realized we really need each other, and we want each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we married 3 years after we met. Yeah.
So how long y'all been married for then?
You remember?
17 years.
Been married for 17?
17.
No, 15. October will be 15.
We've been together for 18.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations, y'all.
Thank you.
That's an incredible feat, especially in today's world where relationships don't last very long.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
We've been through a lot together in these 18 years prior to getting married, and then after being married, just stuff that most people don't stick through together.
Mm-hmm.
And oddly enough, there was certainly, the Lord knew exactly what he was doing. When you look back and see how everything unfolded, we needed each other. Mm. And I'm thankful.
It wasn't even 6 months after I met her, her dad died.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was hard, being young, losing a parent. And
most boyfriends be like, I ain't dealing with that.
Absolutely.
Well, and Zack stepped up. There was an opportunity presented, my mom become a widow overnight at 45 years old. My dad died at 46. And I had just turned 20. I was still a kid. You're still a kid when you're in your teenage 20 age years. And there was no one else, no other man. I had a grandfather, but an ailing grandfather in his 70s who also needed to be cared for. That's the whole reason why we ended up in Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Carrollton. He's from Noonan area, and my grandparents lived in Griffin. So we moved to Griffin to help take care of grandparents. And that kind of opportunity, and I call it an opportunity because most people don't rise to the occasion to do those kind of things, just like what you're talking about. And Zack stepped up to the plate and became the man of the family way before we ever got married. And so him being genuine and realizing that I can do good here, I think it matters. And it mattered to me and it mattered to him.
So that kind of told you all you needed to know about him.
Yeah, I kind of knew it way before all that happened too, but that sealed it for sure.
What was the cause of your father's death?
He died in his sleep at 46 years old. Autopsy, of course, we had that done because most 46-year-old men don't just die in their sleep. They said he stopped breathing, which caused his heart to stop beating. So cardiopulmonary arrest is what happened. My dad wasn't very healthy by any means. Personally, I think he probably had a blood clot. He suffered with DVT and venous insufficiency and things like that. So me personally, just in what medical knowledge I have, I think he probably threw a blood clot and died. I don't believe he suffered or anything like that. But they say he just stopped breathing and his heart stopped beating. So I will find out one day when I get to see him again, and I get to ask the Lord. But at the time, that was pretty hard. We were, of course, like I said, we weren't living for the Lord at the time. And back in 2008, when all this was happening, 2009, 2010, the world was very hard, and being in a recession, we were so poor. I mean, we were so poor, living in a old mill house in Griffin, just making it happen, making ends meet somehow. We had time. There was a decision we had to make when my dad passed away, because there was no life insurance or anything like that. But for us to pay for him to be taken care of by cremation, right? That was what we could afford. And we had to use the money to pay for that versus paying some bills. And one thing that's a perspective thing for young kids growing up nowadays is, if you have never been through something like that, where you've had to make decisions like that, you really just don't get it. And I pray kids don't have to go through those kind of hard times.
I have no judgment on young people who still live at home and stuff with their parents in their young 20s. I have no judgment at all.
That's a privilege,
It's starting out or trying to go out on your own when you're that young is very hard to do. It's hard to do when you're not making that much money anyways.
Yeah.
That's a similar position I find myself in, is the desire to want to move out, but it's like, is it feasible? Is it smart right now.
Right. It's almost impossible. And it felt that way back then, too.
You save up
know?
as much money as you possibly can. That's my best advice I can give to you.
Right.
I told my parents the other day the average age of an adult to own a home here in the United States is 38 years old.
Wow. My age.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I asked them, I said, they got married in 01 or 02, and I asked them, I said, what was the average price of a starter home in that year? My dad said 140,000 probably.
Yeah.
I said, now it's 400,000.
Yeah.
And they want 24, 23, 25-year-olds
Buying that.
buy a $400,000 home.
It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. I mean, we bought a starter home, you know, years later in our life. We lived in that same little mill house in Griffin for years, even after we got married, because we saved our money and we were trying to make very good financial decisions and set us up for life. And we lived in that 2-bedroom, 1-bath mill house over off Experiment Street in Griffin. And we bought our home in 17, January of 17. And
For $125,000.
$125,000.
So cool.
Yeah. So
Now
we
now it's like $315.
Oh, my word.
Oh yeah. It's, you know,
All because y'all deferred some gratification till later down the road.
right. And I loved our little mill house. I call it little cottage in the woods because it is, you know, Experiment Street is not the best area, you know, and
Right.
so, but I will say that little house, it was tucked off the road. You couldn't see it from the road. It had lots of pecan trees in the front.
It was a dead end street.
Dead
so
end
you
street
couldn't
off
cut
of
through.
Experiment. Nobody could cut through there. So like you didn't turn down that road unless you belonged down there. And I loved it. We made it home. We made it our home. It was cute and it served the purpose we needed it to serve, and
Cheap.
it was cheap. $500 a month rent. Which is impossible.
You cannot do that now.
No,
No way.
not at all.
No way.
So in y'all's 15 years of marriage, what's one piece of advice y'all could give to someone? Or what's the biggest lesson you've learned?
Don't be so quick to jump into something. Sleep on it if you have to sleep on it a couple of days and you still don't feel right about it, then it's not right.
Yeah.
Usually when it says go with your gut, you always go with your gut. And that's my advice.
You've always said that too. That's always been your thing. Zach is very, very driven by your feeling and you know, peripheral consideration. He's not quick to jump into something. He's going to think about it, and which is something to be admired because not a lot of people are that way. I'm quite the opposite, so that's why we balance each other, right? My advice, I guess, for marriage or someone maybe seeking marriage is make sure that you are ready to give of yourself. Make sure you are ready and fully committed to put that other person first, because it ain't about you anymore. You are one now, and that truly means something. Be willing to take those vows and mean them, because those words are true, because you will experience every single one of those, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. You know, and it's designed that way on purpose. Till death do you part. That'd be my advice.
Those words, till death do us part, you know, like people don't think they hold the same weight as they once used to.
Right.
Or they don't mean them.
Yeah. I think the world has skewed it so much now.
It's not that big of a deal to get a divorce, just like get divorced.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
a lot of times I feel like a younger generation, it's a convenience perhaps. You automatically go into a marriage thinking, well, if this don't work, I know what to do. And that's the wrong aspect. You go into a marriage, you need to do it head first, head over heels. We're going to tough it out. We're going to make it work because, just like I said, all of those things you're going to experience. There are going to be some poor days. There's going to be some rich days. There's going to be all of it in between. And if you don't have a partner that's willing to go through those trenches with you and in those valleys and in those mountains, I feel like you have to go into it that divorce is not an option. That word is not in our vocabulary. It never has been. Of course, we're married and we disagree and we don't see things the same all the time, but it's not something that we would ever be willing to split for. That's not an option. Never has been.
Relationships they can be thrown away. They're disposable.
Right.
That's what the world has taught.
Terrible.
And I don't think a marriage has been modeled well in the last 30, 40 years, probably in America.
Oh yeah, probably since the 80s, probably.
Because you just see the rise of divorce. Mm-hmm. I mean, and what does a kid who's raised in a divorce home probably see? Mm-hmm. Oftentimes they probably see that's
the norm. Well, it probably goes either way. The kids that come from divorced homes, they may be completely opposite and say, I don't ever want to experience this ever again in my own life.
Because they see the damage it's caused.
Right. So it might be 50-50. I don't know what the statistics are, but it very well could go from a different route, for sure.
Well, let's kind of back it up here, and I want to know about your lives individually. Mr. Zack, if you would, kind of take me back to your younger days and where you grew up and what was life like for you?
I grew up in Sharpsburg, and it was very small compared to what it is now. Newnan is blown up. Coweta is blown up. It was just like what you was talking about a minute ago. You can't get in there unless you have $1 million homes and up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Is what it is there in Coweta.
We drive through there and stuff exists that didn't exist, like just house after house after house.
And it's not that like the schools are super nice or anything like that. It's a convenience thing. You can get to Atlanta within 20 minutes. Mm. And they are building and building and building and building crazy amounts of stuff there. Typical kid, rode dirt bikes. I got to ride BMX a lot. I'd like to do a lot of sports like that. My younger years, as soon as I turned 15, I started working. And I always had a hard time learning because I was homeschooled. My mom didn't know what to do with me. So she never sent me to a public school at all. So a lot of stuff that I've learned on my own. A lot of it's audio processing. Like, for instance, I failed my learners like 5 times until the one time my mom asked if they had it on audio where I could read, like, press a button, listen to it, rewind it. Boom, I passed it.
I think that was some of the reason why your mama probably kept you at home.
Yes.
For homeschooling too. Although homeschooling back in the 90s is a lot different than
it's a lot different. Now there was AOL. The computer at the time was messed up. I bought my first car cash when I was 17, which was really cool to do.
What was it?
It was a Blazer. I bought it actually down here in Griffin. I was really proud of that. I've never told or talked to anybody about it because I was always afraid I was going to make fun of for it. I just learned in a different way than other people do. And unfortunately, my daughter has it.
Yeah, Vivian has a lot of the same struggles that Zack struggled with as a child.
And your dad's school offers something really cool for her. And so far, the first week has been really great for her. So I still try to challenge myself every day, even now, to try to learn. But other than that, man, it was learn everything on your own. Like I come up from a divorce home. My parents divorced way later in life. My mom actually called us on our honeymoon to tell us that he was getting a divorce. Yeah. He always worked. He was worked all the time. He was gone all the time. Like, I taught myself how to shave, like everything that a man would normally do. I taught myself.
You were always very self-sufficient.
Yes, always very self-sufficient on anything I needed to do. I figured it out.
And you're the third out of 4 children.
Yes, third out of 4 children. Not all of them had dyslexia. My brother basically had to force my mom to help him graduate because, you know, it was her job, her responsibility. She stayed at home and she was supposed to teach kids, and she wasn't doing it. So he called her out on it. But, you know, and I try to do everything in my power to make sure my kid doesn't experience that. So.
You became self-sufficient in a lot of ways from your raising, I feel like.
Yes.
And that's ultimately what pushed you into starting working so young.
Yes. I started working really young.
What was that first job?
Working at Mannheim's Auto Auction. Washing cars for $7.50 an hour.
Way back then.
Yeah. Yeah, that was minimum wage back then.
And so I'm trying to think, you would have been 15, what, in 2001? Is that right?
18.
Let's see. Yeah, 2001 time frame. Because you were born in 86.
Yes.
Somewhere around in there.
Yeah. But got to see some really cool cars. Got to see some Lamborghinis, some Ferraris, Bentleys. There's a car there called a Vector. It's where it looks like a Lamborghini, but half of the windshield is chopped off. Really cool. Those, of course, were parked inside the auction. $250,000 cars.
Well, you worked for Auto Reflections for that company.
I worked for
22
him
years.
for years, man. I became a supervisor there. I worked with a bunch of criminals because he didn't do any background checks on nothing. It was interesting. After I worked there for so long, you know, when you buy your first house, they want you to see that where you've been employed for a long time, right? So after I bought my first house, I quit there. And I went and I worked for the city of Griffin. And I stayed working there for a couple of years. And turns out you got to have daycare when you have a kid. If you don't have parents that'll watch them.
And that's expensive.
It's very expensive. It was just as much as me working at the city. So I called my old boss back to where I could work like 2 days a week with him because I made way more money with him, of course. And the rest of the time I'd spend with my daughter. And that's what I did. Until COVID hit and messed everything up, like you know. and they ended up laying me off, and I ended up starting my own pressure washing business, washing houses. But I watched a good 6 months worth of YouTube videos before I launched my own business doing that. Because even cutting grass, I was helping one of my friends in high school. The grass was really tall, and I was riding one of those big zero turns, and I hit one of those glass ornament bunnies, like, you know, the decorative bunnies or something in somebody's yard. Bing, nails the window, shatters a window in the house. And so I was like, I don't want to do anything like that. So for instance, like your stained front door of your house, when you're pressure washing, you're not supposed to put any kind of chemical on that, because if you do, you can mess up the stain. So you'd have to have certain kind of protective stuff on the door. You either have somebody watering it the whole time, or you take a piece of painter's plastic and cover it, and then you would spray. And what a lot of people don't understand and realize with pressure washing either also is chemicals. It's not just water. You're not just out there with a pressure washer like blowing away on the house. It's chemicals is what keeps the house clean and right on certain things.
It's not the actual pressure that cleans it.
No, you could wash your house with a water hose, but you got to have something to be able to shoot that chemical on there. So, after I researched and did all that, you could wash a house. Gosh, man, with an hour and a half, make $500-600, and I'd line like 5 of those up in a day. And I do that 2-3 times a week. And then in the wintertime, I started working for a fence company, doing fencing, because nobody wants their house washed in the winter. So I was doing that, and then that's when I ended up getting sick.
But before we go into that, I kind of want to step back a little bit and talk kind of more about your upbringing.
Okay.
Do you currently have a relationship with your siblings? Are you close to them? What's the...
They're kind of spread out. My mom and my little sister are in South Dakota, and my oldest siblings are in Nashville. And all of them have been divorced.
Not your little sister.
But except my little sister, she is not. I have a decent relationship with them. They're all busy, of course. But yeah, I have a decent relationship with them.
What about your dad?
Zero relationship with him. I haven't spoken to him in probably 6 years. But as far as I know, he's doing okay. He remarried. But
And you have a relationship with your mom.
I do have a relationship with my mom. It's pretty good. I haven't been back out there. Have you ever been to Montana?
Never.
Oh, man.
She started in Montana. They just recently moved to South Dakota, but they were in Montana for a long time prior to that.
Like, I know you've been to Atlanta Airport. Okay, it's super duper busy, and then when you land in Montana, it's like quiet town.
The Bozeman Airport is where you were
Yes,
at?
Bozeman Airport. It is so quiet. Like, there's barely anything going on there. And the speed limits there are 85. And how here in Georgia, when you go to a, the zoo or something to see a bald eagle, they're just in the wild. They're just flying around. Like, you just see them on the norm out there. I'm like, all right, that's cool. It's a different kind of cold. Like, I was out there in November, and it's like a dry cold,
And you can be, it's 40 degrees, but you don't have to have a jacket.
Yes.
Because it's so different without having the moisture in the air. Here, the humidity and the amount of moisture that we have, that's why it feels like chilling to the bone at 40 degrees. Not out there. It's a whole different level of temperature, the way it feels. Because it's just so dry. It's so dry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a place you need to go. You need to go see for yourself. Go during like June.
That's peak season
Yeah.
to see all the wildlife.
To see it, yeah. And if you want to go to the Yellowstone Park and stuff like that, because some of it was closed when I was there because of how cold it was.
Well, you were there November of 23 is when you went? Because he went to see his grandmother before his grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
And she meant a lot to you.
She did.
Meemaw.
Yeah. She lived to be 93. It's a long time.
She was pretty important in your upbringing too, though.
Yes.
What was her role there?
She was, she would come over about once a week. She'd help my mom clean the house because, mom with 4 kids and homeschooling and like all the animals that she had. She was awesome. Sometimes I get to go clean houses with her, which was cool. She was a great lady, man. You would have liked her a lot.
Her name was Ruth, and she was some type of significance in the Tupperware world back in the day. You remember Tupperware?
Yes.
And she would sell Tupperware. That's what she did, along with cleaning houses. And she ended up winning a van or something, right?
Tupperware van.
A Tupperware van back in the day, yeah, because she sold X amount of Tupperware. But she was.
Have you ever seen that old movie Napoleon Dynamite?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time ago.
Well, him and his what's his name? Kip and his Uncle Rico. That's how they're trying to make money, is they sell Tupperware. They go around the town selling the Tupperware.
That's funny. That was our gift when we got married from his Meemaw, was one of those big 30-gallon black trash bags full of Tupperware.
Yeah.
And I still have some.
I was going to say, I'm sure you still have some.
I sure do. I do. That was our gift. And she, each one of the grandchildren, I believe, probably got a black bag full of Tupperware. Yeah.
Hey, it'll last you a lifetime.
It will. It will.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Miss Samantha, you kind of tell me about your upbringing.
All right. Well, so I was raised in Carrollton, born in Douglasville. My history is an odd story. I was adopted, and I say adopted because my mom is my true mother. I've had my biological mother my whole life, but my mom met and married the man that I call my dad, that died, like I was telling you earlier, when I was about 18 months old. And so he's the only father I ever knew, and they met and got married, and he had 3 sons that we were kind of Brady bunched in with each other. And so that's all I've ever known. I knew that was my family. And so I grew up in Carrollton, went to Villa Rica High School, and I guess was a typical kid. I always say, looking back, being in a family of 4 and seeing some of the things that my parents would do, I never realized we were poor until probably late teen ages. You know, it's not a normal thing to go to the pawn shop and pawn something to where you can go buy something for your kid or to pay a bill, right? That's not a normal way to live. But that's how my parents made ends meet. You know, my mom might have a really pretty gold ring, but then it had to go get pawned to buy groceries. So I never really caught on as a child that wasn't normal. And then, you know, teen years, and I started working and realizing kind of helping pay bills as a teenager. My responsibility was to pay the gas bill and all of the like household toiletries and stuff, like washing powder and dish liquid and toilet paper. And that was my responsibility. That was my contribution to the house because I worked and I lived there and I needed to help.
What age was this when you started?
16, probably 16. I always did well in school. School was never hard for me. I excelled in school, and I liked school. I liked learning. I still like learning.
Must be nice, right?
That was some.
Right.
That was. It was just different for me, and we. I grew up. I graduated in 2007 from high school and immediately started college. And I was going something medical. I always knew it would be something medical. And I couldn't quite figure out what it was. So I kind of hopped from one thing to the next. Met Zack during the process of all that. And settled on nursing school. And forged all my energy and things into that. And come to find out, the Lord had other plans for me. And no matter how hard I tried, no matter what good grades I got, no matter how well I did on the testing, there was just some reason that I could not get into the nursing program. In the time, it felt very personal, right? Because I'm trying so hard and doing all the right things, but it just wasn't happening for me. And it wasn't happening for me at this college or for that college or this college. It just wasn't happening. And so I was like, yeah, enough's enough. I got to do something else. And even still being in college, I was working for the same company that I work for now. I've been at Paralysis now for March will be 17 years. Started as a home health aide, you know, taking care of patients, helping them get their baths and do ADL work for them in their home. And now I'm the regional business office manager for the state of Georgia. And so I went in the medical field. I'm still in the medical field, and I still use a lot of the knowledge that I learned through my college career. But I kind of went on the corporate side of the medical stuff, and it has served me well. And I'm so thankful, you know. The Lord knew exactly what he was doing. And there's a reason that didn't happen for me then. But I love my job. I've always loved my job. Each you know, step along the way through climbing that corporate ladder, I have loved my job.
You get to work from home?
I do work from home. I travel some, not very much, but I do travel some. It's all within Georgia, so most of it's not far away from, you know, I can pretty much get anywhere pretty quickly from where we live. And I get to meet a lot of awesome people, and I get to do a lot of training and teaching, and it's been really good for us. It was a great opportunity that I walked in one day and I needed a job, and I got a job, and it's just catapulted me into a lot of other things since then. Yeah.
What exactly does the company you work for do?
So Paralysis Home Health, we provide home care services to patients in their homes. So physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, nursing services. We come to you, essentially. We are clinicians that work in the field and out in traveling to patients' homes. So if you have a knee replacement or a hip replacement, or maybe you have a wound that needs to be cared for, the staff come to you instead of you having to go somewhere, because not everybody's able to get out of their home, or they don't have an active caregiver that's able to get them to and from. And so we go to them, and we provide medical services to patients in the home. And so when I started with the company, that's what I did. I traveled to patients' homes and just kind of worked my way up. And so it's a large corporation. It's been around for a long time. Back in, I think, 1980, or give or take, is when it was created by a gentleman named Bill Bourne back in Louisiana. And it's morphed into a lot of different things. And kind of most recently, we were purchased by United Healthcare. And so we're in an acquisition merger situation right now. So that's kind of uncharted territory for someone who's worked for the same company for a long, long time. But so far, all good things. And it's been good. It's served my family well, and I'm very thankful. Yeah. I'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, is it exclusively in Georgia, or y'all all over the country?
All over the country. All over the country. There we have all the way, California, Montana, Texas, New York, Maryland, Georgia, like all over the country. There's care centers. There are care centers that are listed in different regions. So, of course, we're in Georgia, and so I'm in the east-south region. And that's where my coverage area is. I have this sub-region of Georgia.
What is that? What cities or what counties are in your coverage area?
There are only a few that we actually don't cover in Georgia, like Bainbridge. We don't cover there. And then we have a lot that overlap, but I think there's only 2 counties out of the whole state that we don't cover. So there's essentially an office that covers every square foot of the state.
Wow.
That I get to be a support for. Yeah.
17 years.
Yeah, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm invested.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
I make a joke all the time. I was like, I feel like I'm a medicist through and through. I'm here till they don't want me anymore. Because I don't know anything different. I was 20 years old when I started. And this is something too, this is kind of an investment I feel like that a medicist took in me. So 2010 is when my dad died. And I had started working for a medicist and was just in the training period. But the very first week that I was supposed to take care of patients and see patients was the week that my dad died. And I knew nobody. I didn't know, I was so new. I was like, I don't know who to call. And I had one person's telephone number. And so I called her, let her know what happened. I obviously wasn't going to be at work that week. A tragedy had happened in my life. And I had a lot of things that I had to take care of. And the people who did not know who I was, they actually showed up for me at my dad's funeral and catered a meal to my mom's home. And so I think about that, and when I tell people how great it is to work for a medicist, like that is what I experienced, and how wonderful that was for somebody who they didn't know. And it really, I think it kind of points to how we care for our patients. If people are going to care for somebody you work with that you really don't know, I'm thankful that we get to care for patients like that too.
Is that level of care and culture still ingrained in the company?
I feel like for those of us that are the tried and true ones, we've been there for a long time, I do still feel like it is. The workforce is a lot different now too. The people looking for jobs and wanting jobs and things, and work ethic is a lot different now. And everybody probably experiences that in some capacity. Mm-hmm. But for the majority, I would say, yeah, I think it's still there for most folks.
Well, Mr. Zack, I want to kind of turn back to you now, and you mentioned you getting sick. Mm-hmm. Would you like to go into that a little bit?
Sure. It happened, I had like maybe a 8 to 10 day warnings of it. It started with me not being able to pee. I couldn't pee for like days. So I went to a urologist. Urologist ended up cathing me. I ended up getting like 1,600 milliliters out of me. He said, dude, everything looks good. Your bladder looks good. Your prostate looks good. He said, but if your legs start feeling weird, he said, that's when you need to be concerned. So I was like, okay. So that was like on a Wednesday. And then
A week later,
man, she says she travels every now and then. She was getting ready to travel because she had like 10 to 15 ladies meeting her at this one location from they was coming from all different counties. And I woke up and my legs just hit the floor. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move. I ended up calling her. I was like, honey, I can't feel the bottom half of my body.
well, I was at home. I had not left, and I heard him fall. I was in the bathroom getting ready, and he was in the bedroom, and he's a big man, 6'2", 300 pounds, hit the floor. And so I heard him fall, and it was very strange. And so I come in there, and he's on the ground, and I knew he had not been feeling well. Like, he was different. Something was off, and we knew something was off, but we went to the doctor. We got checked out. Everything was fine. There, just maybe you have a cold. It was all very dismissed, and that's when you told me. He said, Smith, I can't feel my body. Mm-hmm. I can't feel my legs.
Yeah.
What year was this?
This was 25, February of 25.
Yeah.
February 5th.
Yeah.
And her brother ended up taking me to the chiropractor that day. And he basically carried me in there. And then carried me out, and then brought me back home, and then put me in the bed. And then when she got home, she called 911, and she told 911 to send 2-3 big guys.
Well, so much had transpired in a short period of time. I went on to work without really realizing what was going on, and thankfully, my brother came and was able to help Zack, but so much that transpired that day, he became so lethargic and kind of in an unresponsive kind of way. I mean, he would talk, but it took a lot for him to get that way. He started becoming very sensitive to light. And he's talked about going to the chiropractor. He had went because his back kind of started hurting. Mm-hmm. And so this was not unusual for him to go to the chiropractor. And when I saw him that morning till when I had turned around and come back shortly that afternoon, he was a totally different person. And him not having the feeling and not being able to have a conversation and tell me what was going on, I needed 911 to come because something was wrong. And you don't have a lot of recollection of that. You don't remember them.
Only thing I remember that the firefighters got there first, and they took all my vitals and did the whole thing. And then paramedics show up and do the same thing, and the firefighters are like, really? Like, we just told you what we did, and they just pulled everything off of me and then started all back over and did the same thing again. So the firefighters were kind of mad about that. The paramedics there were cool. There was an older guy there. His name was Moses.
This was very special.
This was very special, very cool. He, of course, really didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't either. And he asked me if I knew the Lord, and I told him I did.
He took the time to ask Zack.
Asked me that while he was rolling down the road, and asked me if the Lord was my Lord and Savior. I said, yes, sir.
Because I can imagine you walking into what he walked into? Because
Yeah.
you didn't look good.
No.
Like, he didn't look good. So
No.
an unknown outcome.
No, I did not look good.
If you have a paramedic who's taking the time to ask you if you know the Lord because there's an unknown outcome, that's precious.
Yeah. And they ended up getting me to Spalding, because Spalding, of course, is the closest one to us. And they were nowhere near equipped for what was going on with me.
Well, I will give them kudos, though, because they recognized very quickly there was something neurological going on. You were having sensitivity to light. He was having tremors, uncontrolled tremors.
Yeah, I was shaking.
And
Like constantly.
It was no bodily control. There was none.
Nothing.
Couldn't keep his eyes open. Wasn't really able to carry on much of a conversation. Uncontrolled body temperatures. Real just strange stuff. But they did recognize this was something neurological very quickly. And they're not equipped for that kind of stuff. Spalding's not equipped for trauma or things like that.
And dude, what makes me so mad about COVID and me experiencing all this is now when you get a cold, or anybody gets a cold, it's like, oh, let's go to the ER. I was in the hallway for
about 24 hours.
Because they didn't have a room for me. Because the whole ER was full of sick people that probably just had a cough or a cold or nothing like what was going on with me.
Yeah.
So you stayed in the ER there for about 3 days. With them realizing that it was neurological, they phoned in a lot of teledoc and things for people to examine him, because they weren't physically there, but they needed to lay eyes on him from a neurological point. They started giving him medicine, steroids. Steroids help inflammation. And his spinal cord was so severely inflamed that it caused ruptured disc. It pushed the disc out in his back because it was so inflamed. And that's where the paralysis and things were coming from. But they didn't have the cause or the why. Nobody could quite tell us why. And his tremors were so bad, the testing and things were not able to reflect what was going on. And so they knew they had to get him somewhere else to be treated. So staying at the ER for about 3 days. Your perspective and my perspective, very similar but vastly different too, right? Because I'm the spouse.
I was in and out a lot. I know a lot of people visited me, and Spalding put me in this closet with no air conditioning, is what I call it. They said it was a room. But they did what they could.
Well, the physician there finally, we have to get him shipped out of here. He's got to go somewhere that can care for him the way that he needs, because we can't do this here. And they had already told us, hey, this is affecting his neck. This is affecting his, from here down. It was about armpit level down, where he had no sensation, no feeling, all of that kind of stuff. And the doctor was like, yeah, we're going to transport him via ambulance. And I was like, wait a minute. You're talking about, this is his spinal cord here. I don't want you in stop and go traffic at 5:00 in the afternoon trying to get from Griffin to Atlanta or wherever you plan on taking him. I said, I would much rather him be life flighted. Let's get this. And he's like, well, the doctor, I think he was thinking more in a financial point of view versus, and he said, well, I agree if that's what you want. I said, absolutely, because this is his spinal cord we're talking about here. This is something vital that we need to put some bubble wrap around him,
Yeah.
And so it took about 3 days to find a placement for him. And because they were looking for a neurocritical care unit. And the beds were not available. And it took 3 days to find somewhere that would accept him. And so they did accept him at Wellstar Kennestone. And Zack was life flighted there. So this went from Wednesday, when this initially happened to him, Thursday, and then Friday he was life flighted at midnight Friday night into Saturday morning and landed at Kennestone.
Where's that at?
Kennesaw, up northwest Atlanta.
Yeah. Yeah.
About 72 miles from where we live.
But here's another thing. It was Wellstar to Wellstar. There's money to be lost there if they would have given me to somewhere else.
Yeah, they definitely were trying to keep it in-house, that's for sure.
So, go ahead. Anyways, I was just bringing that up. That there's money into this whole sick thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in healthcare, and a lot of it is criminal, I think, what they do.
Very criminal. Very, after it's all said and done, if we fast forward to when it was all said and done, we got a statement. You know, it says in big bold letters at the top, "This is not your bill. This was just a statement." And it listed all the different things and care he was provided, and it was $1.2 million, and that wasn't including the life flight. That was just an itemized statement.
Yeah.
So absolutely absurd. But you go ahead, finish from your side. What was that like for you? Getting life flighted.
Lifeline was the coolest part.
If there was something fun, that had to been it.
If there was anything cool about it, that was the coolest part. She had sent my sister had came down, oldest sister, ahead. That way somebody would be there at the hospital for me when I landed. And it took her an hour and a half to get there. And it was like midnight, you know. And so they come, they load me up, they put me in this huge helicopter. And we started going, and we get there in 26 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Just moving, man.
Yeah. So, and there's even a story in with that too, because the life flight was all initiated around 5:00 in the afternoon, and they sent a helicopter, and the doctor did not sign his discharge orders for him to load into the helicopter. And so I say there's a story here because when I think back and I look back, the Lord was so intricate in every step of every way of something that happened for Zack. He was so there, because that first helicopter that they sent was so very small. Even the nurse there at the ER come to me and she says, "I'm so thankful that he didn't, because Zack wouldn't have fit in that helicopter." And he said, she's like, "I was afraid I was going to have to fold him like a pretzel to get him in the back of that thing." So they ended up leaving because they had another emergency to go to, and we had to wait for the doctor to sign the discharge orders. And so then here comes midnight, and the helicopter that Zack got to ride in was the newest helicopter of the fleet. It was like a Cadillac.
Huge.
Right? So even in those little mundane details, right, he got the best of the best, because of course he deserves it. But those little bitty tiny details, when you factor it all in, the Lord made that happen on purpose. Like there was a delay there on purpose.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff matters.
What was your condition when you were loaded into the helicopter? Because you had to be conscious enough.
I was conscious, but I still couldn't feel nothing. I still, dude, they put me on a stretcher and you know, brought me out.
Were you in pain?
No. They had me on medicine and oxygen. They put the oxygen around me.
You couldn't feel anything.
I couldn't feel.
So you had no pain.
No. And then I hung out in that, which I got the end room, which was the suite was huge. And they ran all kinds of tests on me for like a week, and they couldn't figure out what it was. They thought it was Guillain-Barré.
All different kinds of diseases, processes he was tested for, infectious disease.
I mean, MS is the most popular one, which is called multiple sclerosis.
And what is that?
Basically, it's your immune system is attacking itself, but the difference between what I have and what MS is, MS progressively gets worse. So, like, you're guaranteed to be in a wheelchair when you're 50. Like, your body is weak. It's super weak. You're very tired all the time, which is, I feel like that right now.
But it's different though.
But it is different, because what I have is what I'm supposed to have is there's two different kinds of MOGAD. There's one that's a one-time deal, boom, it's done. And I have, unfortunately, what is called relapsing MOGAD. So it is, first it attacked my spinal cord. And then last July, it attacked my brain. And then it happened again in March of this year. And so I have monthly infusions. I have a port that they had to put in right here to where she could come in, the nurse could come to my house and put it in.
Infusions of what?
It's called IVIG.
It's a intravenous immune globulin therapy.
That's why she's here.
Because I know all the names and the dates and things.
My girlfriend starts nursing school this coming week.
Okay.
At a
Good for her.
University in North Georgia. And so I have a printout of the stuff about what it all is.
Okay.
And I sent it to her. I said, hey, can you interpret this into English for me? Because I don't know what any of this means.
Yes.
I'm an interpreter a lot.
Yeah.
Well,
So this is helpful.
So your disease the acronym is called MOGAD, MOGAD, and that stands for Myelin, Oligodendrocyte, Glycoprotein, Antibody disease. So this big long word that has this acronym. And so the myelin in our body, that is the protective coating of our brain and our spinal cord and our optic nerve.
Okay.
So when you think of an extension cord, an orange extension cord, if you peel off a piece of that orange protective coating, you see all those wires that are running through it, just like our spinal cord is full of nerves. Well, the myelin is that protective coating. And so what has happened and what happens in MOGAD, very similar to what MS happens, that myelin is deteriorated. And in Zack's case, MOGAD is like self-inflicted almost. It is something that his body did to itself inadvertently. A wire got crossed and there could have been some type of something in his body that made it turn on itself. And so as that's been described to us, it caused these lesions in his spinal cord where there are subsets of sections where there is no myelin protecting the nerves in his spinal cord. So when this happened to him back in February of 2025, he essentially suffered a spinal cord injury from this disease. And on paper and in medical journals and all of the things and all of Zack's diagnoses, he is considered a T10 incomplete paraplegic. And that's where that spinal cord injury started, was where that biggest lesion is in his spine.
It's about that long.
So let me ask you this then. What caused the deterioration or the breakdown of that myelin in that section?
That's the part that nobody has been able to tell us.
Nobody knew.
They say that because it's an autoimmune disease, right? It's an autoimmune disease, so your body attacked itself. But nobody can tell us a root cause.
And it's just in this one section?
Nope.
No, he has other pieces. You know, when the original attack happened, there was a C4 and C5, so up in the cervical spine, there was a lesion there. And then in the thoracic spine and down in the lumbar sacral. So during the testing, you know, they did a lumbar puncture. That's how they were able to identify that this was, in fact, MOGAD. MOGAD is a pretty rare disease. It's something new.
It says here, prevalence is roughly 1.3 to 2.5 per 100,000 people, with about 1.6 to 3.4 new cases per million per year. Genuinely rare and still under-recognized by many clinicians.
Yeah. So most people, because it follows the similarities of MS in a sense, most people were diagnosed with MS and maybe actually had MOGAD instead. And so back in, I think it was 2023, was when real testing and developmental stuff started for MOGAD. And that was through the Mayo Clinic.
I do. It's just random, like a 16-year-old kid running track. Just boom, legs fall out from underneath him.
You're right. We've met a lot of people, and I say a lot of people, it seems like a lot to us, but just people who have also now experienced this disease.
I went to a MOGAD conference, and a 9-month-old baby had it. A woman that was there was talking about her 5-year-old daughter, and it's not like me to do this or to you know. But I asked for the mic, and I asked all four of them, and four neurologists. I was like, "What is the cause of it?" And they had no answer for me except that the only thing that it could be related to gut health.
Yeah.
Your immune system is 70% of your stomach. So whatever you're putting into your body apparently could trigger or cause MS or MOGAD. And the lining of your stomach is only about that thin. I found that out.
Yeah.
I've been doing all kinds of research, brother.
Is it permeable, that membrane, your stomach?
Well, it's where all of that kind of stuff, your nutrients and stuff, are going to be coming through your bloodstream and stuff. So yeah, you definitely want to feed yourself well, right? Gut health is important for all things. But for this and with MOGAD, you know, nobody truly knows why this happens. They've not been able to find a cause. They have speculation. And in Zack's case, each speculation was proven to be false. And so when he was at Kennestone, they did all these testings. They finally figured out this was what it was. You know, they started asking him questions of, have you ever been vaccinated? Vaccine injury can cause this.
That was the very first thing. Even at Kennestone, they asked me if I had the COVID vax.
They asked if he'd ever had COVID or if he'd ever had the COVID vaccine. And so Zack's never been vaccinated for anything. His parents didn't believe in that. So even in childhood, he's not had one vaccination ever.
Nope.
He's had a tetanus shot one time in his life when in his 20s, but that's it. So that was a proven disbelief that, yeah, that vaccine injury didn't cause Zack's MOGAD. It may be for someone else, but it didn't cause Zack's. So the spinal cord injury itself caused what is named as transverse myelitis. It's just another term for what happened in his spinal cord. There's an injury to the spinal cord that is a lesion, is where that's coming from. So no one has yet been able to give a root cause or where that truly comes from. And we spent a whole entire month at Kennestone getting tested. You were poked and prodded and worked on and trying to get to the bottom of why you were here. And that was really difficult for you because you were alone a lot.
I was.
I had Vivian to contend with, trying to get to him every single day, get her where she needed to be, making sure she had someone to care for her while I wasn't there.
What was it like for her?
She had a blast.
You know, she's so wonderful.
Actually, I asked her that yesterday.
Yeah.
If she missed being up there. She didn't miss. She's at the Shepherd Center, of course.
Which that's a part of the story for sure. But for Vivian, I think she's so observant. she's a very curious kid. She's very observant, and she kind of was taking it all in. Of course, there was probably very scary parts of it for her. And for the first couple of weeks, I didn't let her see Zack because he just didn't look good. And he didn't look good. And I knew that would probably scare her anyways. But she did finally get to see him. And of course, that was a wonderful reunion for them too. And she just was still so young. I don't know that she realized what all was exactly happening. 'Cause she was, 5. She was 5. This was February. She turned 6 in August. So no, she was 6, and so then turned 7 in August. So she was still little, and she's caught on plenty well. She knows Daddy was sick. She knows what a spinal cord injury is. She can tell you what that is and all that kind of stuff. But I tried to protect her from it as much as I could, but it disrupted her whole entire life. Because, we would get up and we'd go to school every day, and Mommy would be in the car rider line to pick her up. And then one day Mommy wasn't. And we were so very blessed with friends, church friends, family who just, it was almost like they just swooped in and took care of it without me ever having to ask. And it was such a blessing. And
isn't that neat though, how important having a good church family is in a time like that?
Absolutely.
Because think about if you didn't, who would have been there to?
Yeah, there were moments that our church family carried us, absolutely carried us when we couldn't. And simple things like, so Zack's family and my family, of course, they were there. His family is all spread out, but his mom, of course, she came. His siblings came. And everybody kind of took their turn as needed. But his mom essentially kind of lived at our house while I lived with him at the hospital. And she took care of our home while we were gone. And so she was helpful for Vivian. My mom, of course, extreme big help. And she lives here. My mom lives here in Griffin with us. And so she's close. But there were times where it's so precious, because I'd get a phone call because this older couple at our church, our previous church, because we were at a different church at the time when all this was happening, but she knew I was on my way home and that it was late, and she said, "Are you able to meet me somewhere? I have something for you." And of course it was just a precious card, but it was a precious card filled with money to make sure that I got what I needed and that I was able to take care of what I needed. And, from a financial point of view, we were very, very blessed. People took care of us. There would be times where I'd have a Sam's Club order delivered to the house, and I didn't order it. But it was just stuff that they knew that I might need or my family might need: toilet paper, toothpaste, stuff that would just show up at the house for people helping. We couldn't have done it without our friends and family, and that is significant in of itself. But living at a hospital and traveling back and forth, I've had people ask me, "How did you do that?" And I was like, I don't really know, other than the Lord's grace. And it was just one of those things. I didn't have a choice. There was no choice in that. It's just, that's what I knew I was going to be doing. And I would get up, because driving from Griffin to Kennesaw is not easy through traffic in the morning, but I would leave between 5 and 5:30 every morning to make sure I got up there to meet with the doctors before the doctors rounded, make sure he had what he needed to get started for the day. And I wouldn't leave till the very, very end at night, 11, 12 o'clock, go home, sleep, turn around and do it the next day.
I was so sick, man. I couldn't even hold myself up on the side of the bed.
Yeah.
I was so weak.
It was like he was we've joked about it, but the best way to describe it is he was kind of like a floppy fish. Like he had no core strength, no kind of nothing, because he had no feeling. It caused complete paralysis from armpits down.
The most embarrassing part about it is not being able. I was catheted, which was having a permanent catheter in me, and I also couldn't control my bowels. And so like people be like, hey, I want to come visit you. I want to come. I'm like, nah,
Right.
nah, now ain't the time. You know, and because you can't, which I know you don't know what that's like, but if you did, it stinks. You know, not being able to do that, and then depending on someone else to clean you up. You're like a baby, basically, a toddler. You can't. You're trapped in a body that doesn't want to move, or that you used to be able to do or tell it to do things, and it doesn't. It's weird, man. It's weird. Like just this last June, I went and had a bladder surgery done because I had a 4 millimeter stone inside my bladder. But before then, when I was cathing, I was able to get at least half out. Now there's nothing. So somehow or another, that thing was aiding. That stone was aiding my bladder. But they're about to do a test, some kind of test, to see where it's at.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like people who have never experienced a spinal cord injury or known someone who has had one, you really truly, you truly don't know what exactly that is. And yeah, you can be paralyzed and know what that is and not have movement, but it's so much deeper than that. It's so much more than that. Your spinal cord is the highway of your body. It tells your body exactly what it needs to do, involuntary or voluntary. And going to the bathroom is a big function, both in both directions. And of course, walking is, but you lose all that. One day you're fine, and the next day you've lost it, and it's gone.
You gotta get it all back,
and you don't know why. And people are trying to help you figure out why. And then you're trying to figure out how to function in this new life. And you talked about being cared for. That's hard for people, especially men. Vulnerability. And as a man, having someone to take care of you in a very intimate way, that's difficult. And then having someone who's willing to do that, that's not being paid to do that, right? That's not their job. There's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that if you've never experienced that, you really have absolutely no clue what Zack's kind of had to endure through all of this.
So what was the date of your diagnosis?
February 5th is when
I went in and all that happened.
Yeah.
So what, it probably like the 14th?
The 14th. It was Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it was the 14th is when I found out.
They did his lumbar puncture and everything on the 11th.
What I had.
And it took a couple of days.
What does that look like? The lumbar puncture.
The lumbar puncture is where you you have a needle put into your spinal cord to test the fluid, your brain fluid, your spinal fluid, to see if there's infection, to see if there's any type of abnormalities in the fluid and things like that. And that's what revealed the MOGAD. The actual testing for MOGAD, because it is so rare and so unheard of, the testing has to be sent to the Mayo Clinic for it to be tested. They're the people who created the test. So it didn't even get done at Kennestone. That's why it took 3 days for us to figure it out. So the whole month of February, essentially, you were at Kennestone.
Mm-hmm.
And you had slow progression of improvement. They literally threw every treatment at him.
Plasma was the roughest.
That they could.
Plasma.
This says that there has been no FDA approved treatment specifically for MOGAD.
Right. Because they don't know what caused it. So let's just throw everything at him and see what helps. And so they did something called plasma exchange, which is similar to like dialysis. But they essentially took all of his blood, filtered the plasma out, put new, fresh, good frozen plasma back in to try to get the antibodies of the bad stuff that was attacking, get get it flushed out. And so that was a 5-day treatment while we were in the hospital, and Zack did not respond as well as they expected him to. He had very little movement at all. I mean, I think you were able to maybe
wiggle some toes a little bit.
Yeah.
After
the plasma.
What were you feeling through the plasma exchange there?
Yeah, I mean, the roughest part about it is this nurse had to come in and put a needle like this big, that long, in my neck. And
the central line.
I had to have these 3 things like come out of my neck, and they would just dangle there for a week. And because that's what they would hook the machine up to. And so I have this set of Bose headphones, and I would just turn on music or a podcast. And when they would hook me up, I would just sit there and go to sleep, or just listen to that, or watch a movie or whatever. Like, you don't really feel anything. It's just boring, and that really stinks. That was the most uncomfortable part about it, I'd have to say.
Was it painful, the needle? Did you feel it?
Yeah. Even
because that was above.
Even with medication, yes, I could feel that.
So is your brain, throughout this whole thing, is your brain still functioning to scale? Is it still functioning as normal?
No.
You just can't.
Another part, or side effects of MOGAD, is fatigue, brain fog, memory, forgetfulness of things. Could be something simple like Jim came to the house today. Like, I might forget, like, babe, what was that guy's name that stopped by the house? Like, what was it? You know,
yeah,
like stuff like that. Sleep is a big thing. It's a huge thing. I always want to sleep.
Well, when someone has a disease process like this, the amount of effort it takes to do something is about 4 times the amount of a normal person.
Yes, like how it is for a person to get up to go to church, for instance, and they get dressed and they do their normal thing. It's like working an 8-hour shift for me. Like, I'm pooped when we're done going to church. Just going to church. Dude, just me getting dressed is hard getting dressed.
Is it like a physical exhaustion, or is it more of like your brain is so exhausted from what it was telling your body it had to do?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I've learned that I can do things and I can accomplish things, but I have to do them in sections.
And take your time.
And take my time doing it. Just like simple things like unloading the dishwasher. Like, normal person could stand there and unload the whole thing and then load the whole thing back up and be done in 10, 15 minutes. It takes me a lot longer to do that because I can't stand in one place for a long period of time. Like, I will stand there, unload maybe half of the load, then I have to sit down. Because if I try to power through it or push through it, which I could, I end up being more tired.
And he's used all the gas in the tank and he's running on E. And if he doesn't go lay down, he's unable to do anything else.
Yeah.
And you learned a lot of the compensation and things once you got to Shepherd, because that's a whole big piece, right? We stayed a whole month at Kennestone, but he was transferred to the Shepherd Center, which is a traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury hospital. That's what they specialize in, is rehab for injuries like that.
Where's this?
This is in Atlanta, off of Peachtree Street.
Okay.
You talk about the best of the best, and that's what the Shepherd Center is.
We didn't receive not one bill from them.
At Kennestone, I set my expectations where I wanted Zack to go, because I had to advocate for him. And the case manager was, trying to get me to manage my expectations. And her words to me were, well, we'll cast a big net and see what fish we get. And I said, no, I'm not fishing. I said, I need you to search for the great white. I said, he needs to go to the Shepherd Center. I said, I'm not going to accept anything else. And she was kind of taken aback. And she would come in and she's like, well, he's been accepted here at this place. I said, no, that's unacceptable. That is not where he needs to go. And so she said, Miss Ward, I'll never forget it. She came in on the Friday at the end of February, and she said, Miss Ward, I've reached out to them again, and I just want to let you know it's Friday. I'm fixing to leave, but would you please consider somewhere else? And I said, we will talk on Monday if we've not heard back from them. And when she come in the door, she said, I don't know who you know, but Shepherd Center called. They got a bed waiting for him. And I said, I don't know anybody but the Lord. I said, and that's been my prayer.
Yeah.
And she said, I've worked here for 25 years, and I've never gotten a patient accepted at Shepherd before. She said, so I don't know who you know. And I said, well, I know a really big God. She said, yeah. And she was just kind of taken aback. And so he transferred to Shepherd, where, the care was absolutely phenomenal. They know exactly what they're doing. MOGAD, of course, was just as it wasn't as rare there because that's what they specialize in, is spinal cord injuries.
They know all about it, dude.
They know all about it there. And we were there for 2 months. He did rehab, inpatient rehab for 2 months at Shepherd Center. And it was so integrated and so impactful. You really do learn how to do life from a wheelchair. Because mind you, at this point, Zack still is not
That's
walking.
what they would tell me. Doctors told me, like, dude, you're not going to walk again.
They were like, Mr. Ward, you need to prepare yourself. This may be your life for the rest of your life.
Yeah, like, you're not going to walk anymore.
And we do have to credit the Shepherd Center a lot with getting you back on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
We very much,
It's like a job, Monday through Friday, man. They come in there. They're like, hey, get dressed. They teach you how to dress yourself when you're paralyzed.
Because you don't just put your foot in your pants like you do sitting on the side of the bed or standing up in the closet.
You got to do that all from the bed.
If you're paralyzed, you're laying in the bed trying to get dressed.
Yep.
And it's hard. It's very hard.
Very hard to do.
Because you have to rely on somebody else to get your clothes out for you if you're not able to get them yourself.
Yep. So every night I had to put my clothes at the end of the bed so I could reach them.
Yeah, I would set them out for him before I left in case I didn't get up there before he needed to get dressed.
Yeah. Then you had to be in the gym from 8 to 12. And then you get a lunch. And then you go back and you work till 5 o'clock. They constantly work you, dude. They work the brakes off of you, which is good. Which is really good. I did get to witness to one guy. He was your age. He was 21.
Terrible situation.
He ended up getting shot 3 times. And when he would go in there, he would just fall asleep on the mat. Because the way it is, it's like these king size looking beds and their mats, they're like that thin. And they put you on them and they exercise your body and try to, get
therapy,
get them signals back, get your legs and feet and everything moving again. And he would just straight up fall asleep. And I went to his room because he was right next to me, and I got to talk to him a little bit. And I was like, dude, it is a blessing from God that you're even here. Like, the Shepherd Center is the top of the top. Like, he was in worse shape than me. Like, he had no hand movement either.
He was a quadriplegic from the gunshot in his neck, and he was paralyzed from neck down.
He drove one of those wheelchairs that the tube goes in your mouth and you control it by going left, right, or backwards or forward with your tongue. That's the mobility that he had. But anyways, after I had that talk with him, I'm like, dude, you got to try. Like, at least just try, man. You can sit in that chair the rest of your life. You're 25. Like, I mean, you're 21. Like, you're a young dude. And ever since then, he started working, which was good.
He was so sweet. He'd always say, "Hey, Mrs. Zack."
Yeah. But,
you got to be a shining light in a very dark place.
very dark place. I got a huge respect for the wheelchair community. I went out in public in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Just gonna be me in the back.
I could push myself, which I still have mine. But out of everything and everybody who sees you, guess who sees you the most? Kids. Because they are at that same height that you are.
They're eye level with you.
So I went to the aquarium one time. There's people and there's parents running everywhere. They're like, "Okay, I got my kid. They don't see you in a wheelchair, dude. They don't see you. They're running all over you until like the kid's pulling on the parent, like, "Hey, watch out for him or her." You know.
The Shepherd Center, when I say they teach you how to do life from a wheelchair, I mean, that's exactly what it was. There was outings that we went to, like to the aquarium.
Or the mall.
Going to the mall. And what happens if you have to go to the bathroom while you are at the aquarium and you are paralyzed from the chest down? What does that look like for you? How do you transfer to the toilet? Are you even able to? Do you have somebody there with you that can help you? Or how do you reach things that are out of reach from someone in a wheelchair? Are you brave enough to ask somebody to help you, or are you just going to do without? And so there is a lot, I mean, the consideration of things that you go through.
Like as
amazing.
humans, like before spinal cord injury, you want the most comfortable bathroom. So if you gotta go, you go to the biggest one, right? Dude, there's been times when I've been like in Ingles or wherever and just be sitting there waiting because you can't leave your chair on the outside of the door of the restroom. You gotta have the handicap one.
Yeah, because you can't get up out of your chair and go to the bathroom if you're paralyzed.
Yeah, that, and they teach you at the Shepherd Center is you never leave your chair unattended. Even if like you can hop a little bit to the restroom or to the bathroom or whatever. Because that chair, my chair alone is like 10 grand. And someone could just walk off with it.
Yeah.
That's your livelihood. That's your independence. And you rely on that. And
because they fit you for it.
Yeah.
They fit you for it.
It's custom made.
It's custom made to where like I have an 18-inch femur.
Which is a weird thing to know.
I know that. I know that's what I have because they measured me for it. Because that's what they have to do in order to make it comfortable in that seat. Because you're going to be, I mean, that's what you're living in.
You know, the cushions are specific for your body to sit in and things like that.
I'm just happy and I'm thankful to God that my spine is not severed. Because if it's severed, then that means there's no walking. Like that's it. It's done.
Well, the one thing that we knew and we held true to in all of this, and it was something very, very easily that we heard the Lord very clearly, was that you would walk out of this.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost an audible voice. Zack will walk out of this. And you did. He walked out of the Shepherd Center, which a lot of people don't get to do. And I made sure that we videoed this because you talk about a miracle in most cases. But
a lot of it's mind, man. 70 to 80% of it is mind. Because if you talk it and speak it and manifest it, like that's like Levi just went to the doctor and the doctor said that he has 6 months to live.
Well, so you disagree with that immediately.
You disagree with that immediately. Like if you tell your mind, okay, I got 6 months to live, well then you're gonna die in 6 months. Don't do that.
So you had to tell yourself.
I
you were
told
gonna
myself,
walk.
I'm like, I'm gonna walk again, dude.
One more. Stand up nice and tall. Good. Okay, hang there. Let Catherine gently scoot. Sorry, Catherine. You can sit way back. Hey, man. Nice work.
Like, I don't care what these people are saying. I'm gonna walk again. There's no way this is gonna happen to me and I'm gonna be in a chair for the rest of my life. Am I enduring pain right now? Yes. Do I have nerve pain that goes down my legs and I feel like I have to go to the bathroom all the time? Yeah. I'm enduring that. But the thing is what I've learned in life, dude. There's seasons in your life that you're gonna have, and you can't expect that season to last forever. And so what's happening with me is there's new pathways, there's new growth, there's new myelin being formed, and that is why my body is going through what it's going through right now, and it's going to take a long time. It's not like breaking your arm or your wrist or something, and the doctor's like, all right, in 3 to 6 months, you're good. And it's nothing like that. The spinal cord and brain is it takes a long time to heal.
We heard a doctor say one time that, we know how to fix arms and joints and, broken things. He said, but the brain and the spinal cord, he said, that's all God's territory.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
He said, we have brain surgeons. He said, but really, when you think about it, they try everything in their power not to have to touch that brain because you can't rewire things. He said, that's God's job. He said, and I don't want God's job. And it was, you really think about that. It's the Lord designed our body so intricately. And it's amazing to see how far Zack has come, even through the ups and downs. Because yes, this initial attack happened, but then this isn't the only time this has happened to him. It happened again in July of 2025, and that time it attacked his brain. It didn't mess with his spinal cord. And then it happened again in March of 2026, and it messed with his brain again and his vision. And so
that was horrible.
This is something that he will endure and will live with for the rest of his life.
I'm on a new medication now called Actimra. Mm-hmm. And it's an 88 out of 10 chance that I won't relapse again.
It specifically targets the inflammation. Zack has this disease being an inflammatory type of thing. That's what the inflammation is, what caused the lesions that, took away the myelin and those kind of things. And so, again, it's not approved for MOGAD because nothing's approved for MOGAD, but it's given to people who have like rheumatoid arthritis or the children with the idiopathic juvenile arthritis and things like that.
How does it know to reduce the inflammation if it doesn't know what the source of the inflammation it is? If it doesn't know what to target?
Well, it's targeting a cell. It's a receptor cell that's called the IL-6 in your body. And the glycoprotein name that's in the MOGAD name, you have these different cellular proteins. That's what caused the inflammation. That's what caused the lesion. And so that these medicines are attacking that particular protein. And it's called the interleukin-6 cell, which is IL-6 acronym, and that's specifically what it's targeting. So it's diminishing those that Zack has a inflammatory response for to help reduce that inflammatory response.
What were your relapses like?
Oh man, horrible. Last year, I woke up every day for a month and it was spinning. Everything was spinning. I couldn't control the room from spinning. And so they're like, you have, what they call it?
Vertigo.
Vertigo. You have vertigo. You have vertigo. You have vertigo. Went to a local doctor here. They're like, you got vertigo. Here's some medicine for vertigo. And finally one morning I woke up and I gotten all the way back to a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk anymore. I had no balance. I had nothing. And I told my wife, I said, we got to go back to Shepherd. And so how they find out and how they realize this kind of stuff is they put you through an MRI machine. So they hooked me up. They put me in an MRI machine and did a scan of my brain, and that's how they found out.
When you look at a MRI and the imaging that comes along with it, there's like white reflective spots. When you're looking at something, it should all be dark and clear and you can see very clearly. Well, the way that it reflects, there's highlighted white spots, and there's where the lesion is or where the inflammation is. And that particular relapse, it almost looked like there was buckshot. There was just spots, white, inflamed spots all over with really, really targeted in the cerebellum, the back part of your brain that controls your balance center and all of that stuff, all of the things and side effects that he was having. And it just was sprayed, just full of that. So they immediately started him back on high-dose steroids, put him, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to start you therapy again. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And, the moment the steroids went in and they got him back down, within a week, you were able to keep it from spinning. But like he said, he was all the way back in the wheelchair again. So he was not walking. He was not, functioning as he was just, a few weeks before. So everything he had worked so hard for, he lost it again and had to work all the way back to get it back. And that's actually when we first visited Mountain Gap, was shortly after that second relapse.
Yep.
And he was in a wheelchair when we first started coming to Mountain Gap. But
So church was still important to you despite all that you had been through. It was still a priority.
Yeah, still priority. I still wanted to do it. I still wanted to get my daughter somewhere where she'd have some friends. There's a lot of little girls there at Mountain Gap that are her age that she gets to be around.
Well, there was a piece for you too. Like that was, although it was hard for you to get out and do things, there was a comfort.
Yes. Yeah, I still love going to church, man. I love the Lord.
Do you fear the relapses?
I was actually just talking to her about that yesterday. Yes, I do. Yes, I do, because it's not like you getting a headache or something simple like that. Like, dude, it sets me back a good minute when I end up having one of those. I'm hoping within the next 2 years. She says not to put time on it.
He gives him he puts these limits.
Put these timelines on things. I do. But it's every time I wean off the steroid is when I relapse. And you're not supposed to be on steroids for a long period of time.
Steroids cause so many
issues. Come to find out, which I had to point this out, is my testosterone was down to like 37.
Yes.
Yeah, a man my age is supposed to be like between 800 and 1200. But if you're on steroids for a long period of time,
high dose steroids at that,
brings that testosterone.
That's the side effect.
It doesn't need to produce it.
Well, it keeps your adrenal glands. Essentially, the steroids put your adrenal gland to sleep. And your adrenal glands, they do a lot from a hormonal standpoint. And they're just dormant from the steroid doing everything for him except for the things that your body truly needs to produce. And so he's had to go on, testosterone to get that back right, because that messes with all kinds of body function too. And so you can't.
Make you really tired.
It's one evil for the next. Do we, you take this, but then that causes that. Okay, well then take this, because then that causes that, and it's a very, very evil cycle of stuff.
So what the Actemra was supposed to do is I'm supposed to be able to wean myself off the steroid, and I just have the Actemra.
Right.
And that's ultimately what I want to do.
So you mentioned it earlier. He has nursing services come to the home.
Yep.
For infusion therapies. So he gets the IVIG every 3 weeks. IVIG every 3 weeks, and then the Actemra is every 4 weeks. And that's been since
IVIG is twice, 2 days.
2 days. Yeah, 2 days worth of.
Have you noticed that helping any? Do you
Yes.
think that's helping?
Yes.
They put him on the IVIG after that first relapse. And that was actually after we had went to the Mayo Clinic. The Mayo Clinic is who suggested doing that, because we also went to the Mayo Clinic.
Where's that?
In Jacksonville, Florida. We went down there to, we spent a week where they did all kinds of testing and studies and things, because MOGAD is so rare, and they're the ones who are finding out all of this information. Your mindset's always been, this has been terrible that's happened to me, but if I can help someone else, then yeah, take my blood or take my test or use my MRI. I want to be able to have some kind of good in all of this. So we spent a week down there, and that was post first relapse, and they suggested the IVIG, and so we started that immediately, and he's been on that since October. The second relapse happened in March. So the next was adding the Actemra and then changing the IVIG to be a sooner dose. And so it was originally for every 4 weeks, but now it's every 3 weeks. And so it kind of changes your... Zack is very limited, unfortunately, because we have to work around a schedule that is for Zack. Everything we do is to make sure that Zack's comfortable and that Zack can be and is able to participate and things like that, because he has very important stuff that has to happen for him to function in life. And that's another piece that a lot of times people don't get unless they've experienced it themselves. We like to go out to dinner and have things that other people do too, but if Zack don't feel good, we don't go. And it's hard, you feel bad when you have to cancel on somebody, or if you've made plans that you've really been looking forward to. But that's just the way that it is, because the way he feels is very important.
Right. Do you think there will be ever be like a return to a sense of normalcy?
That's what I'm hoping for in the next 2 years. That's what I'm hoping for.
That's what we're believing for.
And that's what I'm believing for.
He has had lots of glimmers. It's silly, but I took a video of him. He went upstairs to our house. We were in Vivian's room, getting ready to go to bed, do her night routine. And he was barefooted. And so if you think, you've lost sensation and feeling. For the first time since February of 2025, he felt the carpet on the bottom of his foot. What that actually felt like. And so that is something that we take and say, thank you, Lord. That's one step closer. Because for 18 months, I could poke him or pinch him or and him have no clue that I'm touching him.
Yep.
So.
I used to be very ticklish.
Yeah. Yeah. You used to be very ticklish.
Used to be.
So do you appreciate the fact not being so ticklish anymore?
Not really, man. I miss it. One of the first things I thought about when all this happened was when you go to the beach and putting your feet in the sand. Like, I'm not going to feel that anymore. which I will now. But we'll see. I hope things keep coming back. I get a new feeling, a new sensation. About every week, I'll get something new back, which is great.
Well, you can always tell when something's coming too, is what you say to me.
Yes, I can always tell when something's coming because I get really painful in a certain area. It gets really painful.
Something bad coming, like a relapse.
No, it's not a relapse. It's something regenerating.
Because, you know, those nerves are finding new pathways. Because if it's like a highway, and let's say you got a part of your highway is missing, it's got to go around somehow. And so it figures out how to go around and kind of regenerate itself to get where it needs to go to send that signal. And it's very painful to have that type of nerve firing, right?
Yes.
You have described it before that you feel like you're on fire on the inside. Because
Yes.
those nerves are just constantly firing. But they don't know where to go because they're blocked, essentially. And it takes a long time for them to get where they need to go and then get the signal back to where it's supposed to be.
What have you done to sort of like maintain a strong mindset?
Pray a lot. Praying is something I do a lot. I try not to be so down all the time, because if you do that, there's actually a guy that was at the Shepherd Center who had the same exact thing happen to him, and his wife bumped into my wife in the elevator and said, "Is your husband a good mood kind of guy?" And she said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, I don't recommend he meets mine." Because he was 10 years older than me, and he ended up leaving there in a wheelchair. But he had a bad attitude. He had a nasty attitude about it. He was really mad about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anything negative. Anything negative. Even if he had the same disease I did, which is rare, I didn't want anything negative in my life. I still don't. Is keeping a positive mindset, being thankful and being happy that I do have another day to go. Because I'll be honest with you, the day it happened to me, I thought I was dying. I thought this is it. I thought I was going to be dead because of the jitters and the uncontrolledness and
You
being
were
sensitive to light. And I was like, this is it, guy. Like I do ask God that question, why though? The why. And maybe I won't ever know why. I don't, because I was doing my own business, minding my own business, wouldn't do anything, going to church, doing the right thing. And
well, it's a big perspective that even though you're good people, bad things happen to good people.
bad things happen to good people.
And tragic things happen to good people. It doesn't make them not good people. It's all in how you handle that and know that, yeah, this happened, but what glory can we give the Lord for it? And how do we use this for good? And that's just kind of been it. Mm-hmm. It's just, let's see the good here and use that to funnel. We got to get through today. Let's get through the day. Let's see the good for today. Tomorrow, we'll do it again. But let's give God the glory that, yeah, you are still here. Because it was a little touch and go there for a little bit.
Right now, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know if that makes sense. What's got to make sense to you? You work with your hands. Like, what if you didn't build houses? What if you didn't remodel stuff? What if you physically couldn't do any of that stuff anymore? What would you do?
I'd go crazy. I really would.
That's been the hardest for him.
Yes. That's been the hardest for me.
Finding some sort of hobby or time filler.
He's always been a laborer since he was 14, 15 years old. So now he's fixing to be 40, and for the past 18 months, there's been no labor, and that's been hard. It's been difficult to occupy time, occupy your mind, keeping up with feeling worth something. You know, you go from the provider of your family to not, and that's been hard for him.
If something like this had happened to y'all 10 years ago, how might would y'all have reacted differently?
You want me to take that one first?
Yeah, you go. Yeah.
Well, 10 years ago, I think about kind of where we were in life. I was very new to the Lord, you know, still a little baby Christian. And I wouldn't know that I would have known how to kind of plug into God's mercy and God's grace. I wouldn't have known how to do that. Because I mean, it really, from a spouse, from your wife's point of view, you know, this didn't happen to me. I just was there through it all. And it would have been so much harder 10 years ago. It would have not been seen. It would have been seen as a trial, not so much as a.
It would have been hard, but it wouldn't have been as hard as it was, because we wouldn't have Vivian.
Yeah, but having Vivian didn't make this hard.
Yeah.
That wasn't it for me, from my point of view. That was a big part for you, because you constantly worried about how this was going to affect her. So yeah, I get your point in that, you know.
Do you think there may have been, since you were a newer Christian and maybe still a bit immature in your faith, do you think there would have been some sort of bitterness there?
Oh, probably so, yeah. Yeah, probably. Because I wouldn't have known how to handle I wouldn't have known how to handle it.
Right.
You know, I can care for somebody. I know how to do that in the physical. But being a support and being a prayer partner for Zack, and being able to pray over him, pray for him, knowing the right words to say, being that active presence, it wouldn't have been something that I would have ran from, but it certainly wouldn't have been something I probably would have handled as well as I did. I guess I handled it well. But yeah, I wouldn't have known how. I don't know that I would have.
What would it have been like for you?
You know, to me, it would have been more hectic, because we would have had to find a different place to live.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't let me come home unless I had a ramp into my house.
There would have been a lot more stressors in that physical stuff.
So you would have to own your own home to be able to do something like that, unless you was really cool with your rental tenant. You know, my house had to be modified. I had to modify my my bathroom and my master bedroom doors to where they would open up wide to where I could have a wheelchair fit through them.
Yeah, we built a ramp to get into the house.
Yep.
The hallways, like, we had to have some modifications done to our home.
Yeah, so we would have had to find a new place to live quick.
Yeah.
So
it would have been harder in a financial sense too, because we were not financially where we are now 10 years ago.
No, definitely not.
Physically, it might have been a little easier because you weren't as old as you were, but I don't think that would have mattered if it wouldn't have been for the heart and soul piece of knowing the Lord had us through the whole thing.
Right.
How have y'all been able to maintain not growing angry at God or bitter at him, because I met an individual earlier this year, and about 2 years ago, I went and looked at a job for him, and about 2 years ago, he worked, he built movie sets at Trilith Park.
Oh, wow. And
he went to go get some dinner one night, and he was heading home, fell asleep at the wheel, ran off the road, and flipped his truck and ran into a tree. And he's completely paralyzed from the, I think from where you said, from like the armpits down, he can still move his arms some.
Wow.
And he just is in a bed all the time.
That's terrible.
And he hates his life.
Yeah.
He's not a believer, and he questions God every day as to why he allowed this to happen to him.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not angry with God for it happening. There's two different ways you can look at it. Like there was a time where I was like, there's no point of me going down to the altar to try to get healing, because the pastor will call you down if you need healing, because it's all in God's time, right? So then I brought that to my old pastor, and he said, well, Zach, if there's any time where there's opportunity to be healed, you need to take that. So I was like, yeah, I mean, that's true. So now anytime pastor or an altar call or anything like that is for healing, I go. Because, I mean, I do want to be healed. Of course I do.
And you believe that he can do it?
Of course I do. Yeah, of course he can do it, man.
you wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for the Lord.
No, I wouldn't be nowhere. I wouldn't be able to do done anything without him.
Even all the way back to your raising and your teen years and your early life,
Mm-hmm.
and then you and I meeting, the Lord orchestrated all of that way back then.
He did.
And that's one thing I think is a perspective that a lot of people don't have. Well, the gentleman you're talking about, his perspective is very skewed, unfortunately. And going through something like that is tragic and terrible.
It is very tragic. It's very terrible. I don't know if he was married before that happened, but we witnessed and got to witness wives and husbands walking into rooms with papers into Shepherd Center, like divorcing right there on the spot, because the husband or the wife's like, I'm not going to deal with that the rest of my life.
Or I'm not going to care for you.
Yeah.
Or I've relinquished you because you don't deserve to deal with this, so I've let you go, type of thing. Mm-hmm. We saw that happen. But God didn't do this. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. God didn't make this happen, or say to Zach or look at Zach and say, you know what, I'm gonna snap my fingers and mess up his day. God didn't do that. This is something that has happened, and perspective is how we have to look at it, because if we don't use something like this, or other people who have tragic things that happen in their lives, if we don't use that to see the good, the world is going down faster than it already is. You have to keep your perspective where it's supposed to be and keep your eyes on the Lord, because the Lord doesn't have any ill will for his people. The Lord is not going to cause you to do or have something bad happen to you. That's the world having that happen bad to you. And, this is all a healthcare thing, and this is all a body thing, and, but the Lord didn't make this happen to Zach. We don't know what made this happen to Zach.
I don't blame God for it.
No.
Am I upset that it happened? Yeah. Does it stink? Yeah.
But it's not the worst thing that could have happened to us or to him.
But I'm still here. I'm still thankful to be alive. That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's my question to him. I'm like, you didn't take me out. Then what are you trying to teach me here? What are you trying to tell me?
Or what does he have for you?
What does he have for me? Was it for me witnessing to that kid that I was telling you about that was 21 years old who got shot?
Right.
You know what? You know, maybe that was the whole point of it happening. I don't know.
And getting him to see the Lord and the goodness that, yeah, you were in a really bad spot. And yeah, you were in some really bad things. But keep your eyes on your Creator, because he has good for you through all of this.
Well, the Lord has been pivotal through y'all's time with all of this, and so with that, where did y'all's saving faith in Jesus? Where did that begin?
I've been in and out of church my whole life. When me and her got together, we was looking for a church. We went to all different kinds of churches.
When we got married, we felt a very strong urge that we needed to find somewhere
to go.
You know, it was very evident that we needed to be put somewhere. We needed to seek out the Lord, and we did. And you know, I was 25 years old when I got saved and baptized, and actually knew what that meant, and started a relationship with the Lord. I'm 37 now, so 12 years ago. I remember the day. I know the day, January 25th. I will never forget it. I know the clothes I was wearing. I know I walked down to that altar, and I know exactly who prayed with me, who prayed over me. I remember asking for help because I didn't know what else to say. And it was almost as if when I opened my eyes from, bowed my head praying, and I opened my eyes, the world looked different. The colors were different. It smelled different. The way I saw things were different. And from that moment, my life has been forever changed. And so, that was 12 years ago. 10 years ago, like your question about how would we have handled it, I'm thankful that happened 12 years ago. Because that gave me 2 years to get prepared, and then here we are, it gave us 10 years to get prepared to know how to handle a tragedy. Because that's essentially what this is. This is a tragedy that happened. We don't know why, but we were able to get through it and get on the other side of it. Essentially, I feel like we're kind of on the other side of it. Every day's a new day. But
it's just going to take a long time. That's what I have to tell myself. I'm impatient, as most men are.
And I think part of that comes with because you've been a laborer your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I have too, not as long as you, but that's all I've known is it's like working hard, physical labor type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think with that it brings a lot of impatience, because especially when you can't do anything to speed it up, you can't do anything to get a job done quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Your hands are tied.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, man.
you put a lot of pressure on yourself too. He's his own worst critic of, well, I should be better by now, or I should be able to do this. And why do you think you should? You know, you ain't the creator of Zack, you know?
Yeah.
And so I tell him all the time, I'm like, quit beating yourself up. Quit being so hard on yourself. Because you're putting pressure on yourself that's not necessary. And that's hard for him. It's hard for you to manage not being so hard on yourself.
Yeah. It is. It is, because I've always been the fixer. getting it done. And that's probably the hardest thing right now in my life that I'm going through is just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I'll figure out something. I just don't know what yet. My dream is to start owning rental properties. That's my dream. I'd love to get, even if it was like just a 2-bedroom, 1-bath shack in Mexico Beach. Just something that needed fixed up or something. And I'd like to start Airbnb in that. And then whenever I want to go to Florida, I can go to Florida.
He wants to be a beach bum is what it is.
I like to do that.
I'm shopping for a rental right now, not in Mexico Beach or nowhere, but around here because I'm trying to get into rentals too.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure it's a place where you can Airbnb it. Because some subdivisions and some neighborhoods don't allow it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You also mentioned your girlfriend was going into the nursing field, which is awesome. But the one thing I wish I would have knew when I was younger about it is there's multiple different things that you can do. It's not just you're set on one thing, like being an RN or being a pharmacist. Her mom and her dad was telling her that, like, you know, you got to be an RN. You got to be an RN, right?
Yeah. Knowing other opportunities, that wasn't something that was ever sought out. You know, it was just go to nursing school. You'll be able to provide for yourself. You'll be able to take care of yourself if we're never around. You know, it was just kind of one of those things. It wasn't ever anything that I ever ventured outside of that until I got into the corporate world and realized there's a whole lot more.
I see.
And I will say, though, you know, through my job and through my work and through what college I have and things, I do believe that was very helpful to the situation that we have right now. Some of the knowledge and the things that I learned back in nursing school certainly helped during all of this. Being able to kind of understand what they were talking about, because they're spitting out words that nobody else understands, and I can pick up on what they're talking about, you know?
Right.
And be able to ask for specific things and then look at me like I'm crazy because they just think I'm a wife. And
How does she know that?
Yeah.
So it definitely, again, very, very orchestrated by the Lord, because if I wouldn't have got that job years ago and if I wouldn't have went into school, who knows what would have happened, and how would I have been able to advocate for him, and how would I have been able to support him and help take care of him, and when he wasn't able to do it himself. And so I'm thankful for all of that, because that happened on purpose. All of it did. And it helped me get him taken care of when I needed to.
That's right. Well, I want to thank both of y'all for being my guest today. This has been an honor for me to
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
hear
you.
y'all's story.
It's no problem.
But before we close, something I like to ask every guest, I offer every guest the opportunity to underline a verse or a passage of scripture that's meant something to them in their lives or in a season of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is that something y'all would do here after we finish?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then my last question is this: 3 people y'all like to see here on the show.
Oh, that's good. You do your 3 and I'll do my 3, or we need to do 3 collectively?
Y'all can do 3 collectively.
Okay.
It's 3 is unless
Joby Martin.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one. Do you know who Joby Martin is?
I don't.
He's an awesome pastor down in Jacksonville, Florida.
At the Church of 1122.
Okay, actually, I do know who you're talking about. I've seen him before.
Yeah, he's awesome too. He's
During
good.
all of this, Zach's watched a lot of his stuff, and he has helped Zach through a lot just by watching his sermons.
Okay.
So he means a lot to Zach. So Joby Martin would be one of yours. Let me think, man. I mean, I should say our pastor, Pastor John Price. Let's get him on here.
I interviewed him one time.
Did you? I haven't seen it. Okay.
Well, this wasn't on this podcast.
Okay.
But me and my siblings did a podcast called the For Sheltered Children podcast years ago, kind of making fun of homeschoolers because we were homeschooled.
That's
right?
funny.
You know, and so kind of in that, I found my passion for interviewing people because they they weren't into it like I was, and it was
Mm-hmm.
like pulling teeth to try and get them to record.
Mm-hmm.
We'd record, and then Mama would listen to it, and she'd have a list this long, just full of stuff I had to take out of there.
Right.
They couldn't say.
Editor. She was the editor.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. And in that, I did kind of find this passion to interview people, and
That's
I
awesome.
interviewed Pastor John. But is that somebody you'd like to see redone, re-interviewed?
Yeah. I mean, I think Pastor John has him and Selena both. They have a very interesting
Story.
story.
The big story.
A very precious story that can reach a lot of families who've gone through a lot of similar things with losing a child and tragedy and things like that. So yeah, I think they would be a good one probably to interview and talk to. And who else? I might have to think about that one. Like, I mean, of course, there's probably a million people we could think of, but then on the spot, can't
On
think of
the
anything.
spot, it's
Yeah.
always tough. It's always tough
On the
for
spot.
people. If y'all can only think of two, that's
What
fine.
about your dad? Because really, that's kind of how we know each other, anyways, is through your dad to begin with, and then church.
Well, I'll say something to that. I like I did with y'all. I asked for, like, can you send me your testimony and bio?
Yeah.
And so I typed up this real professional text. I said, "Hey, me and my team are reaching out to you. Would you send your stuff over?"
Right.
And he's like, "I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that."
Oh,
You
come
know?
on.
I was like, "Come on, Daddy." Well, I was like, "Can't get a spot on the show until you fill it out,
Right.
Until you do it." So he's
That's so
like,
funny.
he thinks he's something special. He just needs to.
Your people got to talk to his people, is what it is.
Right. He's like, "Who are your people?" I was like, "Me and Mama."
Well, what's funny is your mama's his people, too. So,
That's
like,
true.
she's the one who's got to orchestrate this, probably.
We have the same people. So
Yeah.
But no, Mama has been pivotal in this, and she stays on top of me about, do you have somebody for this week? Do you have somebody for this week? And
Right.
so, it's annoying sometimes, but I know it's really good.
Right.
And I mean, because of that, we've been able to maintain every week this year. We've had one episode come out every
That's great.
Tuesday, one episode. And so my goal is to, by the end of the year, have 52 episodes, one for each week.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, but I'll have to reach back out to him and see
Reach
if
out
we
to his
can-
people.
Yeah, reach out to his people, see if we can.
Because you had your granddaddy on here, too, didn't he?
did.
Yeah.
I did.
That's great.
That was special. The second time I've interviewed him, first time on this show, but really special.
That's
yeah.
cool.
Grandparents are special. They are.
And he's kind of stepped into this unique position in his life, and like, he's very passionate about end times and being prepared for the
that.
second coming of the Lord.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a serious topic.
Yeah.
So it's been cool to see.
Yeah. That's wonderful. That really is wonderful.
Well, both of y'all, thank y'all so much again. This
Yeah.
has been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, for sure.
Pleasure was ours. Thank you. He's walking out of this place.
before you go, I just wanted to jump in here really quick and ask you to do just a couple things for me. We don't make a penny from this show. We are not sponsored or monetized in any way. This is a passion of mine and something that I believe the Lord has used and I believe He'll continue to use. So, the things that I would ask this. I would ask that you would pray for the show and that it would continue to reach people and impact them and that they may come to the saving faith of Jesus Christ through this show, that the stories we highlight on this show would radically transform their life and impact them in a powerful way. Second, I would ask that you would go follow the show on all platforms, whether this be Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube Music. There's so many platforms out there, but we're just asking you, go choose one or all of them if you're feeling very generous. That would be great. And then finally, if you would, write us a review. Leave a review. You can do this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Those reviews help. It'll encourage the algorithm to push the show out to more people. And then finally, like and comment. I know they talk about, everybody talks about this all the time, but y'all, that stuff really helps. And I enjoy reading comments all the time. That is super encouraging to myself and everybody that helps make this show possible. So write us a comment, and if you want to reach out to the show, we have a way to do that. You can reach out to us via Facebook, via Instagram, DM us there, and you can also email us. I'll leave the email down in the show notes, so you can just click that and shoot us an email over. We'd be happy to take a look at that, read that, and respond to you. So I just want to thank you all for the support you've shown throughout this year that we've started. This show has impacted more people than I anticipated it to impact this early on, and I am truly grateful for that. So y'all keep listening, and we will keep bringing you the stories that you enjoy and the stories that impact so many people.